Hello, I'm Brian Gregory with Network Innovations, and today I'd like to share a little bit about the AltiGen and Network Innovations story with you. I'm going to move pretty quickly, so please, if you have any questions, give me a call. I'll be happy to answer your questions or talk about your specific unique situation. Just use the information on the screen here. So first off, I'd like to start with who is AltiGen. It's not a household name that you hear a lot about. AltiGen has been around for well over 20 years. Was founded by a guy named Gilbert Hugh. Gilbert was a hardware engineer who developed some data communications products in the 1980s, and 3Com bought that company from him, wrote him a pretty big check. So at that point, he was able to pursue his passion, his dream, which was a computer-based phone system. And that did not exist back then. So he hired his software and engineer friends, and they developed AltiGen from the ground up. And AltiGen was the first Windows Server-based phone system on the market back then. So AltiGen was a real pioneer in software-based communications and has always been kind of a step ahead of everybody else since that point. My company, Network Innovations, we've been around since 1991. We've been an AltiGen dealer for over 20 years, and that is the focus of our company. That's what we do all day, every day, is this one phone system. So we know it inside and out. We love it and love to work with you on it. We are one of the top 3 AltiGen dealers in the country, and we've done hundreds of installations in over 30 states with tons of companies that you may have heard of before. And I do like to use references. When you talk to salespeople, of course, they can say anything, and you don't have really any way of knowing what's true and what's not. So I'm a big believer in talking to references, and I recommend that you ask very pointed, specific questions. If you call somebody up and say, hey, how's your phone system, they'll either like it or they don't, and they'll probably tell you that. But if you ask specific questions, what don't you like, what didn't go well, what do your users complain about, what's frustrating, things like that, I think you'll get some real specific answers. And if you talk to our references and some of our competitors, I think you'll see a clear difference in what you hear from those. So I like to start off with this quote from Bill Gates, and this quote's over 10 years old now, so he obviously looks down the road a little ways. But he said the transformation to software-based phone systems will be as big as the shift from the typewriter to the word processor. Now, obviously, you can picture doing away with whiteout, carbon paper, retyping documents, that sort of thing was a huge boost to office productivity and efficiency. And I think you'll see throughout our discussion today that a software-based phone system and its capabilities can also be a big accelerator to really drive your business forward in some pretty huge ways. So one of the big benefits of AltiGen is we are entirely a software-based solution. So everything we do is software-based. There's literally no hardware required whatsoever in some cases if you choose to go that route with our system. Now, most people aren't ready for that. They still want some telephones and that sort of thing. We certainly do that. So, that's our typical installation. But I want to warn you that you'll talk to some other people and they'll say that their phone system is software-based also. And then when they come out to install it, they're going to be putting a bunch of equipment in a rack and on the wall and that sort of thing. They're not software-based at all. They're still dependent on proprietary hardware, which is expensive to maintain, expensive to support. You have power supplies, things like that to worry about, what happens, if equipment crashes, where do you get a replacement, that sort of thing. So we truly have none of that. We are completely software-based. Now, that being said, we still have a lot of flexibility. So we're able to give you all of the same features several different ways. So we can work with you to determine what fits your company and your situation best. So for example, if you'd like a cloud-based phone system where there's nothing to maintain in your office, we absolutely do that. We run a dedicated private instance, so you still have your very own phone system. If you look at other cloud phone systems today, what you're going to find is that they are hosted phone systems and they're multi-tenant. So they have one server with thousands of users, hundreds of companies, all running on this one server. And there's some pretty big drawbacks to that. It limits your ability to do reporting and customization, integration with your line of business applications. It potentially increases security risks and downtime because you're on there. Somebody can cause problems in a different company and affect your system, that sort of thing. So with our cloud-based system, it's still a private, dedicated system, but it runs in AltiGen's cloud. We maintain it. It's accessible to you from anywhere in the world. So that's one option that you have with our system. Now, on the flip side, with the very same capabilities, if you want to run the system on a server in your office, we can absolutely do that as well. So we install the software on a system in your office. It can be a server you provide. Definitely could be a virtual server. That's what we recommend. So you can continue to have that system in-house like you probably do today. And then in between, if you'd like to have your system running in a data center of your choosing, we don't totally do that as well. Again, same capabilities, that's not affected. So you choose the method that fits your business the best. We'll help you figure that out, and we deliver those capabilities to you. Then the next piece is paying for the phone system. There are two ways that people pay for communications these days. Traditionally, a phone system would be a purchase, where you purchase the system, you write a check, and then you have your monthly phone bill. Cloud systems, typically you pay a monthly fee ongoing rather than a big upfront purchase. And so no matter how you choose to consume the system, whether it's in the cloud, in your office, in a data center, you have those same options. You can do a purchase or you can do a monthly payment. So lots of flexibility. We can put all that together to fit your unique situation. Now, I mentioned AltiGen is an all software-based phone system, and they always have been from day one. And that's a big leap from what you're used to with most phone systems, because most phone systems are proprietary hardware-based systems. So they have the telephones, which tend to be clunky and overpriced. They have the system that's on the wall back in your dungeon or down in the basement or stuck in a closet somewhere. Then potentially some other equipment. If you're doing voicemail call recording, you might have some computers and servers connected to it. And so they're in the hardware business. We have a completely software-based system. So you run our software, one instance, and then for telephones, we have lots of options. We have what's called a software telephone. So you can do away with the phone on the desk, run a software client on your PC, use a headset connected to that, and that's your phone. You click to dial, all that good stuff, very quick and efficient. If you're used to using a headset, that's probably the way to go these days. You can use your cell phone as a client. We have a cell phone app, and your cell phone can be your office phone, and we'll show you more about that here in a minute. If you still want to maintain phones on the desks, then we use Polycom telephones for that. They are very well made, very nice phones, really good quality, very inexpensive as well for the capabilities that you get. So this is a picture, an example of some of the phones that we typically offer. One thing about Polycom, basically the internal components are the same across the whole line. So our entry-level phone has the same speakerphone, handset, the pieces that you interface with, as the high-end phone. Basically the difference is the screen. You start out with a few buttons and a black and white screen. You get a color screen, a few more buttons. This phone here has actually a color touch screen just like your cell phone. That's probably a little excessive for a phone, but one thing I love about this telephone here is that it also has Bluetooth built into it. So just like your cell phone, you can pair any Bluetooth headset to that phone, which is very inexpensive if you're using wireless headsets paired to a desk phone today. That can be an expensive, $300 proposition just for the headset system. In this case, $50 Bluetooth headset paired to that phone, and you're good to go. So that's a really slick situation. So this phone's under $300. This phone's under $130. So, very affordable. A lot of our competitors, their entry-level phones are $300 or $400 and look like this, and a phone with these capabilities would be $1,000, the cost of a laptop, which is crazy. But again, we're not in the hardware business, so we use these off-the-shelf telephones. You're not locked in and stuck over a barrel. Your existing phone system you have today, you're probably used to. If you want to add some phones, you have to buy the same phones from the same system. They're expensive. They could be hard to find. If they end of life the system, they may tell you, tough luck, you can't buy those phones anymore. Then you're stuck buying a whole new phone system simply because you had a couple of employees. You're not going to run into that with our software-based system. So just to kind of quickly summarize some of our key benefits, we leverage your existing IT investment. You've got a network in place that you use to run your business. We plug right in on top of that and extend all of those capabilities. So again, if you talk to some of our competitors, they're going to come back to you with the phone system proposal you asked for, but then they're going to say, okay, but you need to replace these switches and routers and firewalls, because they also sell those things, and so they're leveraging the phone system to get in the door with other purchases. Not how we work. We plug right into what you have. You get the phone system that you need. We're going to help integrate your communications across the whole company. So if you've got multiple locations, if you've got field-based workers, maybe it's just a day of bad weather and you've got some people that need to work from home. We're going to tie everybody together, give them the same capabilities. We are very Microsoft-centric. We run on a standard Windows server. So just like the rest of your office, we run on that standard Windows server, and then we integrate with all of Microsoft's products to give you extra capabilities, such as Outlook, Internet Explorer, Office, Word and Excel, Exchange, Microsoft SQL Server, Microsoft CRM, things like that. We extend all those capabilities. But a big thing is we're not locking you into the system. So if you look at your phone system today, you may have made that purchase 10 years ago, and then you're stuck. You have to go back to those guys for any support, for any new features, any new telephones. We don't have any of that. We're software-based. We're open just like the computer world. So imagine if you bought an HP computer for your office, and then that meant you could only buy HP computers ever again from that point forward. That would be crazy. But that's how the phone system has always worked. So AltiGen comes at it from the other perspective, gives you the control, and you're able to make those choices and not be stuck with few options going down the road. So we're going to be very competitive on the upfront cost, but all of this adds up to give you a very low total cost of ownership. So if you compare what our system is going to cost you over the next 10 years to those other systems, we're going to come out way ahead for these reasons. As I mentioned, we are very Microsoft-centric. We're running on a standard Windows server just like your other servers. Your IT company is not something unusual that they don't know what it is or what to do with it. It's just a regular server. Because we're software-based, it's a very powerful, flexible system, and that's one thing that I really like about AltiGen. So if you look across your organization, you've probably got some pretty diverse needs, from potentially a warehouse to a sales or tech support call center to your order processing, purchasing, accounting departments. And we're able to go into your organization and tune the system to work the way you need it to in each of those different areas. You're not stuck with a one-size-fits-all that you have to fit your organization processes into. We will talk about your processes and then configure the phone system to not only meet those needs, but enhance and make you more efficient. Everything we do runs on a single Windows server. So again, that's another big deal. And the reason I point that out, AltiGen is the only phone system on the market today where we design the entire system in-house. All of the other systems out there, including the big names that you hear and see all the time, they license features and functions from third parties. And so what happens when they do that is, for example, they license voicemail from company X. So if you go look at your phone system right now, you've probably got a box on the wall, and then there's a computer sitting on the floor next to it. And that's your voicemail, and the reason it's two different boxes is because two different companies design those systems. Well, you can imagine that only makes things confusing, because your users and the people that call your company are navigating systems designed by different people for different purposes. It's harder to support, because of that reason, and upgrades, that sort of thing. Conference calls. A lot of systems, people say, we don't even try conference calls because nobody can remember how it works. Well, it's probably because the conference call capability was licensed from another third party, and so you have to push these buttons that make no sense to navigate from the phone system through the conference calling functionality that somebody else developed. So, pretty crazy. But AltiGen is literally the only system out there where we design the entire product from end to end, which makes it the easiest to use. It all makes sense. It all fits together and works very well because we have control of the whole thing. So one thing I like to point out is that although you don't see the AltiGen name necessarily so much, there are some really big companies out there that relabel and resell the AltiGen phone system, and they choose AltiGen for this reason, because we control the entire experience. So for example, Fiserv is a very large bank core processing company, $8 billion a year. They sell the AltiGen phone system to their bank clients under their own name. So if you go into a bank, you're probably interfacing with an AltiGen system, even though that may not be the name of it. Because we're a software-based phone system, that enables future growth. So if you look at the phone system you're using now, it probably does exactly the same thing it did 10 years ago when you bought it, nothing more, nothing less. But since we're software-based, we come out with 1 or 2 upgrades a year, and you're going to get new capabilities and new functionality as time goes on. So that means your phone system doesn't become obsolete and need to be replaced down the road. So some of the very first installations that we did in 1997, well over 20 years ago, those people are using our AltiGen system today, but they don't have a 20-year-old phone system. They have today's capabilities, which is pretty cool. We also have a lot of unified communications capabilities. So we're running into this situation today where we have so many avenues of communication, text messaging, instant messaging, telephone, cell phone, business phone, Facebook, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. So we're helping drive all of that stuff together so that you have, one interface for those things. So we integrate with Microsoft Skype for Business, which is an excellent tool for instant messaging, for video and conferencing, for screen sharing, collaboration. And then we also have tools that can bring in your social media messaging like Facebook and Twitter, text messaging to your clients from cell phones, and that sort of thing. So again, everything we do runs off one server instance. It was all designed by the same people and supported by AltiGen, which gives you a very, very good, easy system to use. We also give you a very easy system to manage. So it was AltiGen's intention from day one that the system be something that you could maintain in-house. You have control over the system, and you can ask us for help when you need it. A lot of phone systems are the exact opposite. They won't give you the password. They won't allow you to do any management. And there again, then they can charge expensive hourly fees to make any changes. A lot of people just don't make changes, and they live with names being wrong for years, or the phone system isn't optimal, but they don't mess with it because it's an expensive service call to get help. So we're the exact opposite. We include time in our installation to train some of your employees on administration of the system. It's also very intuitive, something that you can sit down and it looks reasonable, makes sense, you can understand it. So it's very practical for you to be able to make some of those routine changes yourself. But we're always available 24/7 to back you up and help you out anytime you need it. So just really quickly, return on investment. Obviously, some of these things I've talked about give you a very good ROI. Being able to do some of the routine maintenance yourself, not being dependent on an outside vendor, and being stuck, living with their terms and their fees is huge. Not having to buy proprietary telephones or, support proprietary boxes, very, very big deal. We can also help you make huge changes in your monthly telephone costs. Even if you have the system on site or if you go in the cloud, we can take a look at your communications bills. We absolutely have numerous examples. We have a recent one, client in Hutchinson, Kansas, last summer. We helped their monthly phone bill. They have a 24/7 call center. Their monthly phone bill was $4,500 a month, and we helped them reduce that to $500 a month. So I don't think I know anybody that wouldn't like to save $4,000 a month. Now, maybe your bills aren't that high, but we can still help you save a significant and notable amount of those recurring costs, which is obviously a pretty big deal. Other things that we do that help with return on investment are making you more efficient, giving you more capabilities, allowing you to leverage your communication system as a competitive advantage. So we have a lot of knowledge over 20 years, and we like to come in and become part of your team, learn your processes and your workflow, and help you not only design the phone system to fit your workflow, but also potentially help you modify your workflow in ways that it can work with the phone system to make you more efficient, to give you better customer service, customer retention. All those types of things can be dramatically affected by your communication system. So that's kind of what we look to do. So our system, we help you enhance that customer experience, making it easier to locate your employees, especially if they're mobile out in the field. Help you with routing calls to the right person quickly. We give you full reporting So you're able to actually measure your performance. I'm sure you have expectations on how calls are being handled, but with your current system, you very well may not have the ability to actually look at your performance and see if it's meeting those expectations or do any kind of diagnostics about why it's not or how you can improve it. So we give you all of that. Then we also have some really powerful software tools that can make your employees more efficient and more effective. I want to talk about mobility real quick, just because we have some great mobility options. For one, since we are a voice over IP-based system, users can set up an IP phone anywhere in the world. So that means if you've got somebody that has a home office, they work from home part-time, they can absolutely take the phone off their desk, take it home, plug it in, and work just like they're at the office. Maybe they've just got some medical leave. They want to be able to take some calls while they're home. Maybe there's bad weather coming in tonight. The receptionist can literally take the phone off her desk, take it home, plug it in, and answer calls from home tomorrow morning. So it's that easy. It's not that easy with every other system. So that's an important thing to note. We've put a lot of engineering into our system to make it plug and play like that. With a lot of systems, you would have to send an IT person out to the person's house. They'd have to spend a half a day fighting with their internet provider, trying to figure out their firewall, that sort of thing. Not how it works with us. Just take the phone home, plug it in. So you can have those phones anywhere. We also have one number access or follow me roaming. So you can set it up so that if you don't answer at your desk, the caller gets an option to try your cell phone or some other number. One problem we all have these days is we sit at our desk and talk on the cell phone all day long, running the battery down, because once you start giving out the cell phone number, nobody ever calls you at the office ever again. The problem with that is, I run my battery down here in the office and I head out for some meetings in the afternoon. My phone's dead and I can't use it when I need it. So one number access allows you to train people to call you at the office. And if you're not at your desk, they'll have an option to reach your cell phone. However, you're not giving up control. That feature has schedule-based options, so you can determine what time frame you get those phone calls. Maybe you want to be available, just a little extended from office hours, from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Maybe you want to be available 24/7, totally up to you. It's also something you can turn on or turn off. So if you've got a hectic day or you're going to be on vacation, you turn that off and those calls stop, which is huge, gives the employee a lot of control. The next option we have is Max Mobile. This is our cell phone app. This brings all of your desk phone features right to your cell phone. So you have the ability to put somebody on hold, transfer, conference call, send them to voicemail, and that's your office voicemail, record that call. Everything you can do from your desk, you can do right from Max Mobile. You have your company directory, so you can call somebody directly at their phone by hitting their button. You can also see their status, so I can see Alex is in a meeting, Eric's at lunch right now, just at a glance on my cell phone. If I add somebody to my favorites list, we add the red light, green light, I can actually look down and see if they're on the phone from my cell phone on the golf course or to client's office, wherever I might be. And if I'm making calls through this app, people at the office will actually see I'm on the phone when I'm talking on my cell phone. So it's huge. This makes your cell phone, part of the system. I can see my call history. I can see my voicemail visually. So we all know that ultimately we're going to carry around that cell phone, and that's going to be our communication device for everything. Well, AltiGen is there today. We've actually deployed the AltiGen system with 100% cell phone endpoints. So that's their interface to the business office phone system. So they get all of our features, recording, call routing, all that good stuff, but it just lives on their cell phone and goes where they go. So in some cases, if you've got highly mobile employees, that can eliminate their need for a desk phone entirely, which is a big cost savings. But if you have people that are in and out of the office, they can bounce back and forth. I can use my desk phone when I'm at my desk, have speakerphone, all that good stuff, grab my cell phone when I leave, log in, and my calls follow me. It's that easy. And I can log in from anywhere in the world. I don't have to remember to do it before I leave the office. So this can really reduce your costs. It can improve employee productivity. But what it's really giving you is security and control. So when employees start giving out their cell phone number, you lose all control over those calls. You can't report on those calls. You don't have any visibility into, the times those calls are having, the talk time. You have no ability to reroute those calls. If an employee goes on a cruise for 2 weeks and they shut their phone off, those calls just go into a black hole somewhere. So this gives you security and control over those calls, but then it gives your employee privacy because when they log into the application, calls will come to the cell phone seamlessly. The caller doesn't even know that they're doing that. But when they log out, those calls stop. So if they're out to dinner with their spouse, if they're at the kids' soccer game Saturday morning, they log out of the application and they're not being bothered with those office calls, which is huge for the employee. When you give out the cell phone number, you give up all control. People can call you 24/7 forever. If you leave the company, you might be, 2 months of getting phone calls from clients and having to tell the story that you're not with the company anymore, that sort of thing. So we take all that out of the picture and give you the control over the calls. All those calls are logged, can be reported, recorded. I can be a member of a support group, so we have a lot of companies that offer 24/7 support that may have had employees come in and spend the night at the office running the graveyard shift, and now those employees can log in from Max Mobile and take those calls from home, which is, again, huge. We talked about Microsoft Skype. We integrate fully, so your presence syncs both ways. Your status changes based on your calendar, so your phone system status changes when you're in a meeting, on vacation, that sort of thing. We give you, webinar and screen sharing capability, video conferencing, really cool stuff. We also integrate with Microsoft Exchange, so you can get your voicemail and your email. That's a per user choice, so some people like to get their voicemail in their email, some people don't like it. That's fine. You can also even go to the extent that Exchange has capabilities where you can call in from your cell phone, have your email read to you. You can delete, reply, forward, all that kind of stuff. We support all of that. Then we have our desktop applications. So Max Outlook, Max Communicator, give you full control over your telephone. You can drag and drop to transfer calls, drag and drop for conference calls, click to dial all your contacts, manage all your greetings, that sort of thing. I will do a separate presentation on that. So if you'd like more information, let me know or check out that other presentation. But huge productivity tool for people for sure. This is also the soft phone client, so this can work in conjunction with your desk phone, in conjunction with your cell phone if you're using the cell phone app, or it can be the phone itself with a headset connected to the computer. And then lastly, I mentioned we integrate with all of Microsoft's products. So anywhere you see a telephone number in an application, we're going to underline that number. You can click and dial that call right from that application. So again, really, really huge productivity boost. We can integrate with any line of business application. If you're using common off-the-shelf applications, we may have that integration done already, but we can absolutely integrate with anything. And if you don't want to go to the extent of custom integration, then these types of features tie in. We've also got a highlight to dial, so you can highlight a number, hit, say, the F3 key, and it'll place that call for you from any application. So we've got some great tools for you there. And then lastly, we have some very, very great call center functionality, especially if you are a company that has just a few people that need this functionality. We have, great call center functionality. We have call centers that are 24/7 with 150, 200 agents running on the system, and we're able to meet their needs. But we're also able to bring those capabilities down to the company that just has one or two or a handful of people that need those capabilities, such as supervision, reporting, silent monitoring, centralized call recording. If you're making outbound calls, we've got a huge productivity tool for outbound calling when you get voicemail so that you don't have to repeat the same message 100 times a day, 2 minutes long. And there again, software tools for our agents, supervisors, and reporting. And I will do a separate module on the call center that you can check out as well. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Please give me a call or send me an email so we can talk more specifically about how we can impact your business.